A very happy and a pleasant morning to you all children. I'm extremely happy in meeting you this early morning, especially today is raining, the rainy morning, and to discuss and to continue with the same lesson, combustion and flame. So we started with combustion and flame lesson somewhere the week before last, and now this will be the part 2 of the same lesson. In today's lesson, we will discuss about the history of matchstick. So it is a very useful substance or a thing which we are using in day-to-day life, matchstick. So what is the history behind this? And we are going to see about how fire broken out can be put off or extinguished. So we all know that water is a very best fire extinguisher. So whenever there is fire broken out in our houses due to logs of food or due to paper or some solid substance, immediately we seek the help of water. What is the property of water to extinguish the fire? We are going to discuss in this. And also, for all the cases of fire, we cannot use water, especially when the fire breaks out in an electrical equipment or when the fire breaks out in the LPG stoves. We cannot use water. Why? What is the reason? So these things we are going to discuss in this lesson, and so listen to the lessons very carefully and get involved and know the basic concept in each of these. Okay, children, now we will go into the lessons. To start with today's lesson, we will see what are the topics we are going to discuss today. The first topic is all about history of matchsticks. So how the matchstick which we are using now has evolved from the history. Then there will be an experiment on paper cups which tells you or which reveals you that ignition temperature is different for different substances and it doesn't alter the medium in which it is being kept in. Then finally we are going to see about how to extinguish common fire. So you can see the fire brigadier putting off or extinguishing the fire. Can we use water for all types of fires? No. Some of the fires we have to use the carbon dioxide fire extinguisher, which you see on the right side corner. So where it has to be used and for what purpose it is better than the water. So these are the topics we are going to see in today's learning. Children, let us start with the concept of history of a matchstick. The history of the matchstick is very old. More than 500 years ago, small pieces of pine wood dipped in sulfur were used as matches in ancient Egypt. The modern safety matches was developed only about 200 years ago. A mixture of antimony trisulfate potassium chlorate and white phosphorus with some glue and starch was applied on the head of a match made of suitable wood. When stuck against a rough surface, white phosphorus got ignited due to the heat of friction. To continue with the history of matches, this started the combustion of the match. However, white phosphorus proved to be dangerous both for the workers involved in the manufacturing of matches and for the users. These days, the head of the safety match contained only antimony trisulfide and potassium chlorate. The rubbing surface has powdered glass and a little red phosphorus, which is much less dangerous. When the match is stuck against the rubbing surface, some red phosphorus gets converted into white phosphorus. This immediately reacts with potassium chlorate in the matchstick head to produce enough heat to ignite antimony trisulfide and start the combustion. Now, let us sum up the history of matchstick. Matchsticks contain a mixture of antimony trisulfide and potassium chlorate. The rubbing surface has powdered glass and a little red phosphorus, which is much less dangerous. When the match is struck against the rubbing surface, some red phosphorus gets converted into white phosphorus. This immediately reacts with potassium chlorate in the matchstick head to produce enough heat to ignite antimony trisulfide and thus helps in the combustion. In this slide, we are going to see about an activity which you can do it by yourself. The activity described in your textbook is to take a sheet of paper and fold it like a cone and make it as a cup. So instead, we can use the ordinary tea cups that we are using nowadays. So take 2 teacups. Now introduce the first teacup onto the flame of a candle. Now you can notice, what can you notice after some time? We can notice that the paper cup begins to catch fire and burns itself. Right. Now fill half of the second cup with water. Now introduce it to the flame of the candle. Now observe what happens. As the time goes on, now you can see that the water which is filled in the cup gets its temperature mounted step by step, but it doesn't result in the burning of the paper cup as in the case of the first activity. So why the paper cup in the first experiment begin to catch fire and the same paper cup when it is filled with water is not getting heated and burned? The reason is the heat supplied to the paper cup is transferred to water by the process called conduction. So in the presence of water, the ignition temperature of paper is not reached, hence it does not burn. So what we can conclude from this experiment is that the heat supplied to the paper cup is transferred to water by conduction. So in the presence of water, the ignition temperature of paper is not reached, hence it does not burn. The substances which have very low ignition temperature and can easily catch fire with a flame are called inflammable substance. Petrol, diesel, alcohol, LPG are some of the inflammable substances that we use everyday life. Children, let us see what are the steps that we can use to control fire. How can we control fire? The three essential requirements for producing fire are fuel, air, heat. That means whenever there is fuel, then it will begin to catch fire. When there is a supply of air, that is the supply of oxygen, then it will help in the combustion. Then heat, to raise the temperature of the fuel beyond the ignition temperature. So these are the three major factors which is essential for producing fire. So if we want to stop the combustion, then we have to remove any one of the above. So fire can be controlled by removing any one of the above. In this slide, let us see how do we control fire. When a fire brigade arrives, what does he do? He pours water on the fire. Water cools the combustible material so that its temperature is brought below its ignition temperature. This prevents the fire from spreading. Water vapors also surround the combustible material, helping in cutting off the supply of air. So the fire is extinguished. So the simple way to extinguish fire is to spread water on the combustible material. Now, the same concept is being explained in this. The method by which we extinguish fire by using water, it is an application by reducing the temperature of the object. When the water is being sprayed on the combustible substance, so we reduce the temperature of the object. So this is one method of extinguishing fire. Water cools the combustible material so that its temperature is brought below its ignition temperature. This prevents fire from spreading. Water vapor also surrounds the combustible material, helping in cutting off the supply of air, and the fire is extinguished. Children, we have seen in the previous slide that water is the best fire extinguisher. Water is a best fire extinguisher when there is a fire broken out between some combustible materials like wood, paper, etc. But the same water cannot be used to extinguish fires broken out due to the leakage of current, as well as when there is a fire broken out due to liquid fuels like petrol, kerosene, or even LPG. So we have to use a different fire extinguisher instead of water. So what comes into our help is carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is a best fire extinguisher for extinguishing fires involved with electrical fire accidents as well as the flame due to the combustible materials like petrol, diesel, gas. Now let us go through the slides. The most common fire extinguisher is water, but water works only when things like wood and paper are on fire. If electrical equipment is on fire, water may conduct electricity and harm those trying to damage the fire. Water is also not suitable for fires involving oil and petrol. Can you recall that water is heavier than oil? So it sinks below the oil and oil keeps burning on the top. For fires involving electrical equipment and inflammable materials like petrol, carbon dioxide CO2 is the best extinguisher. CO2, carbon dioxide, being heavier than oxygen, covers the fire like a blanket. So it is the best extinguisher for fires involving with electricity as well as the liquid fuels. Children, in this slide, let us see about the carbon dioxide fire extinguisher. What you see in the picture with the red color cylinder, you mostly see it in all the buildings which are there important. For examples, our schools, then theaters, malls, auditoriums, we can find this red color cylinder. It is the carbon dioxide fire extinguisher. Since the contact between the fuel and the oxygen is cut off, the fire is controlled in the case of carbon dioxide fire extinguisher. The added advantage of carbon dioxide is that in most cases it does not harm the electrical equipment. How do we get the supply of carbon dioxide? It can be stored at high pressure as a liquid in cylinders. In what form is the LPG stored in our cylinders? When released from the cylinder, carbon dioxide expands enormously in volume and cools down. So it is not only forms a blanket around the fire, it brings down the temperature of the fuel. That is why it is an excellent fire extinguisher. Let us sum up about the carbon dioxide fire extinguisher in this slide. For fires involving electrical equipment and inflammable materials like petrol, carbon dioxide is the best extinguisher. Carbon dioxide, being heavier than oxygen, covers the fire like a blanket, thereby controlling the fire. It does not harm the electrical equipment. It can be stored at high pressure as a liquid in cylinders. It also brings down the temperature of the fuel. Another way to get carbon dioxide to release a lot of dry powder of chemicals like sodium bicarbonate and potassium bicarbonate can be used in this. Now we will see about the incomplete and complete combustion. So incomplete combustion is the one in which fuel, when burning in a limited supply of air, that is oxygen, tend to form carbon monoxide, and the combustion is referred as incomplete combustion. So when fuel is burnt in air, which is rich in oxygen, which is a supporter of combustion, gives out carbon monoxide, then it is incomplete combustion. Fuel, when burning in excess supply of air, tends to form carbon dioxide, and the combustion is referred as complete combustion. So when the fuel is burnt in enormous supply of oxygen, then there is a release of carbon dioxide, where that combustion is referred as complete combustion. Children, we will see about the different types of combustion in this slide. Combustion can be broadly classified as three types, as rapid combustion, spontaneous combustion, and explosion. A rapid combustion is very fast. We refer it as a rapid combustion. When combustion is on its own, then we refer it as spontaneous combustion. And when combustion causes large amount of heat, light and sound, we refer it as explosion. So example for rapid is matchstick near stove. Spontaneous is coal dust in coal mines, and firecrackers in explosion. So let us study in detail about these explosion in the upcoming slides. So the three types of combustion, let us see in detail in this slide. Type of combustions. There are three main types of combustion. They are rapid combustion, spontaneous combustion, and explosion. Rapid combustion. The word rapid means very quick. So rapid combustion means combustion which takes place very less time. Rapid combustion is combustion in which a substance burns rapidly and produce heat and light with the help of external heat. So the best example for this is burning of LPG. So you would have seen your mothers igniting the LPG gas stoves. So it catches fire, or it is combusting at a very faster rate. Therefore, it is referred as a rapid combustion. Now, spontaneous combustion is combustion in which a substance burns spontaneously and produce heat and light without the help of external heat. So phosphorus burns spontaneously at room temperature. So you have learnt in metals and non-metals about the property of phosphorus, where it can catch fire with the help of the surrounding temperature itself. So it is referred as spontaneous combustion. Then explosion is the combustion in which a substance burns suddenly and produces heat, light and sound with the help of heat or pressure. Example, explosion of crackers on applying heat or pressure. So these are the three major classifications of combustion, and this is a very important question for the board examination. The same concept of the three types of combustion is explained in this slide also. So whichever answer is easy for you, whichever examples are easy for you, you can take it up. That's why I'm giving you different slides on the same topic. So there are three different types of combustion. Spontaneous combustion, the combustion in which substances start burning suddenly even without being heated, are known as spontaneous combustion. Example, sodium and potassium burn spontaneously in air even when no external heat is provided to them. Rapid combustion, the combustion in which substances burn rapidly to produce heat and light is called rapid combustion. In rapid combustion, external heat must be supplied so that the substances can burn. Example, oil lamp, paper burns rapidly to produce heat and light when they come in contact with fire. Finally, explosion. It is a combustion reaction that occurs suddenly when a material is heated, liberating a large amount of gas and producing heat, light, and sound. Example, bursting of crackers. Children, by this we come to the end of today's learning section, and in this lesson we have seen about the history of matchstick, then how to control or how to extinguish fire by using water as well as by using carbon dioxide fire extinguishers. And next we have seen about the types of combustion. So all these topics play a very important role in this lesson. Therefore, listen to the slides frequently till you get understand. Also, go through your textbooks based on these topics. So, get enhanced with the knowledge of combustion. So, we will meet next week of the same time. Until then, bye to you children. Goodbye.